Okay, so today we are going to talk about the comparison trap. My name is Michelle Einen. I'm actually under a couple of people below Brittany Hunter. So Brittany Hunter was the first consultant in the company. So she's the mentor above me. And I started LuLaRoe. I think I actually onboarded October 1st. I launched October 15th. I hit trainer January 2016. And then I just hit coach last month. So it's been really fun. I worked as a nurse practitioner before I became a LuLaRoe consultant. And I had been in a ton of direct sales companies trying to stay home. When I was 21, I had a kiddo. I worked as a registered nurse, and I was able to be home with him Monday through Thursday doing tons of stuff. And once I got older and married and established and all that stuff, lo and behold, it was harder. I was working all the time, and I felt like with my little one, I couldn't do as much with her. I felt like I was a better mom at 21 than I was at 36. And so I was really looking for a way to be able to stay home while still financially supporting my family. So I started LuLaRoe. In March, I quit my full-time job. And I've been doing LuLaRoe full-time since March. So it was actually right after the cruise. I went on the cruise and I had to talk with Kimberly Roylance and her husband. And I had talked about whether or not I wanted to accept a part-time job. And Kim said, well, give me all the details. And once I told her, she said, don't take that part-time job. You need to just do this. And so my husband looked at me and said, just do it. I was like, what? And so came back and said, I declined the part-time job because I was just trying to cut back hours at that point in time. And it's been a blessing to us since. So that's a little bit about me. Another big thing about me is I totally suffer from the comparison trap. So you would think that I've done, fairly well, became trainer and became coach in less than a year. There are people who are becoming mentor in less than a year. So yeah, there's still people that are doing better than me. There is always going to be, which you'll see as we talk about the comparison trap. But self-confidence and self-esteem are definitely an issue, an issue for me. And LuLaRoe has been huge in growing both my self-esteem and my self-confidence. So this is the first time that I've talked about the comparison trap, but it's definitely something that's close to my heart because I do suffer from it. And I'll be taking some of my own suggestions from this presentation today. So ever feel this way? So this is something just from the internet, kind of where you're comparing yourself to everybody else. With LuLaRoe, it would probably be more like, how does she have so many people on her VIP page? Or why are her sales so much more than mine? Or how is she growing her team so fast? So those are, a couple of ways that we can compare ourselves to others within LuLaRoe: sales, VIP pages, and team building. In life, what do we compare? We compare appearance, talents, money, possessions, relationships. Pretty much we can compare anything. So why is comparing a problem? It's not. It's not necessarily a problem if you're admiring and appreciating others. But when it leads you to forget that you are creative, successful, and complete in your own right, it definitely becomes a problem. So I did a lot of research. I've been trying to get a presentation together. This is a little bit smaller, but I'm going to try to do one for a Super Saturday that I'm having locally. So I've been on a bunch of websites looking at the comparison trap. I bought a couple books, a devotional. I have an app on my phone that's called the Comparison Trap. But so I'll be sharing a few of the websites. But beyondcompare.ca was one of the websites where I found some very useful information if you guys are interested in looking. So comparison is actually the result of not feeling confident. And this is how you get into that cycle. So you're not really feeling very confident. And so you go look to others because you need that validation, or you want to go look and see what everybody else is doing, or just to see how you compare, really. So you start looking, you start comparing, that confidence level goes even farther down. You are even less confident. So what do? You go back to comparing. It's a vicious cycle. We need to remember that no matter how well off we are, there is always someone who has more. And that comparison creates dissatisfaction. So just like I was saying, did I get to coach a lot faster than other people? Sure. But are there people who are getting to mentor in the same amount of time it took me to get to trainer practically? Absolutely. There is always somebody who has more in every area. But doing that comparison creates dissatisfaction. I don't know if any of you guys know who Allison from the Allison Show is, but she's been at a few of LuLaRoe's events that I've been to. And she's got this awesome webinar series about how to be awesome. And so one of the ways that she talks about being awesome is to stay out of the comparison trap, because as she says, it just sucks and it takes away your awesome. So it zaps your happy, it destroys your confidence, and it ignores your unique traits and gifts. When we're comparing ourselves with other people, we are only comparing ourselves to the desirable side of somebody else's life. So recently at church, and I won't get all churchy on you, but we had a series called My Not So Facebook Life. And it kind of touched on the same thing. Everything that's on Facebook and social media, there was something that happened before that picture. And there was something that happened before they got on that cruise ship. There was something that happened before they just sang that perfect song, because they probably, their voice cracked while they were practicing, and they might not have sounded perfect before, but that one that was posted will be pitch perfect. So you are not seeing the undesirable side of their life. You are totally being deceived. Comparison is a distraction, and it takes away from our productive activities, our income producing activities. We're also comparing our beginning to someone else's middle. We have no clue when we're looking at everybody else where they're at in their journey. And we're comparing our weaknesses against someone else's strengths. That's another big, huge thing that kind of hits home with me. Comparison makes us forget why we do what we do in the first place. It totally takes our eye off the prize. It puts our eye on somebody else's prize, actually. So what are the tough questions to ask yourself when you're beginning to get into that trap? One, you want to ask yourself, what do they have that you wish that you had? What do you admire about them? What are they modeling for you? What have they done to get to where they are today? And how does this relate to my own values? So once we start to ask our tough questions to ourselves instead of sticking into that comparison mode, it shifts us out of the comparison mode and turns us inwards. So this is from a website from 99u.com, which had a lot to say about the comparison trap as well. Some other questions that we might want to ask ourselves are, what qualities in them inspire me? Where do I currently embody these qualities? And how do I express these qualities different from them? You may have some of the same strengths. You may have some of the same qualities, but you're expressing them differently, and you're just not identifying them. So to reiterate, Theodore Roosevelt said that comparison is the thief of joy. And you should be you. To wish you were someone else is to waste the person that you are. Now, what can we do to combat the comparison trap? So comparison with myself brings improvement, but with comparison with myself brings improvement. Comparison with others brings discontent. So the first thing is to compare with yourself. You need to compare where you were to where you've come. So look back at a year. Where were you a year ago compared to where you are now? Or where were you a month ago compared to where you are now? Try to keep your eyes in your own lane. This is one of the hardest ones, but it's actually the best one for me to be able to get myself out of the comparison trap. Ali Wren actually did a blog series of 30 days of getting out of the comparison trap. And she says, just like driving, if you take your eyes off the road for too long, you're going to be swerving into traffic or into someone else's lane. This is also known as keep your eyes on your own paper. We are in everybody's VIP groups. So my sponsor actually, she is doing phenomenal, and she's about to hit coach, and she has great sales. But at one point in time during a little slump in her sales, she was actually looking at how much I was selling, and she was looking at how much her girl Kayla was selling. And she was spending too much time focusing on what we were doing instead of actually improving her own sales. So she decided to just get out of every single person's VIP group. If we are not there, we are not going to have that temptation. It's like having a problem with alcohol and having alcohol in the house, right? Like you don't want it in your home because you're trying to stay away from it. You don't want to drink the alcohol. So don't bring it into your home. Don't allow it there. So if you find that you are somebody who is prone to getting into the comparison trap, stay away from other people's VIP groups, and that will help you to keep from dipping right into that trap. Create a victory jar. I really like this idea, even though it's kind of cheesy. So every time you are feeling good about yourself, you have a success, you have a victory, like you are on top of the mountain, then you're going to want to write that down on a small slip of paper and pop it in a jar. So that way, when that day comes where you are having a crappy day, you are not able to visualize those successes. You can't remember the last victory you had, and you're in that comparison trap. Pull out those pieces of paper out of your victory jar and remember when you were having those successes and you were feeling so high, especially on LuLaRoe, high on LuLaRoe. Get into the habit of acknowledging what you are thankful for. It is really hard to be in the comparison trap when you are just being gracious. So start a gratitude journal or a blessed journal and write down daily the things that you're thankful for. If you're focusing more on gratitude and the things that you're thankful for, you're going to focus less on comparison. And last but not least, I really, really liked that Mark talked about abundance on the cruise ship. So when we look at somebody else's successes, the first thing we think is, I'm never going to be able to have what she has. But the great thing, and the thing that Mark explained to us on the cruise, is you can, because we live in a universe that is abundant and there is enough for all of us. So we need to remember, the theory of abundance, and that there's enough for us to have it as well. Also combating the comparison trap is making up a story. So I thought this was really funny. I watched a little webinar for somebody talking about ways to get out of the comparison trap, and she made up a story looking at somebody's vacation. It was actually a cruise, and they were having such a great time on the cruise that she said, I sat there and thought about the fact that maybe all of them had actually eaten something really bad and were stuck in their cabins for a day and a half because they all had diarrhea. So you have no clue what happens, like I said before this picture. So I was thinking about Lindsay Wheeler. I follow her Instagram, and a holy comparison trap with her. She's just amazing. And I was looking at this picture of a baby laid out on these soft, buttery, soft leggings. And this picture was gorgeous. But I thought to myself, when this lady was talking about that on her webinar about how to get out of the comparison trap, I thought about how many pairs of leggings might have had like baby spit up or vomit on them. So she really says, look at those pictures and think about what could have happened in real life that would make this picture not so picture perfect. And so it's just kind of a fun way to knock yourself out of that trap. If you are not in the trap, you're just comparing, but you're not in that vicious cycle yet. It can actually push you to grow, but you need to utilize that pushback to improve. This next one is really, really huge. And especially after Heather said that, there's a lot of people in this business she was, talking about that go into it for different reasons. So some people like me want to replace their full-time income. Others want to do LuLaRoe because they enjoy it and they love the clothes and they really want to do it as a hobby. There are people who, are hobby LuLaRoe consultants. And then there are other people who really like their full-time job and they have no desire to quit. But they still want to do part-time LuLaRoe because one, they love the company, or they want an extra $500 a month to pay for their child's preschool, or they don't want to have to worry about where the money's going to come from for Christmas. They really just want to make enough money to pay for their Christmas. We all have different goals. So identify what your version of success is and chase that. Because when we look at everybody else's pictures or everybody else's sales or everybody else's team, it's not even why you went into the business in the first place. But once you start looking at that, it seems so attractive, but is it really what you want? Is it what you wanted? Is it your version of success? Or are you striving towards somebody else's version of success? Like maybe that's why you don't have that, because that's not what you want. That's not what you came into this business for. And so you are not comparing apples to apples. You are comparing apples to oranges. Identify your own version of success and find out if you're being true to that. That's where you need to go back and compare against yourself. Are you working and visualizing the success that you want or somebody else's? And then the other thing, comparing apples to apples, you also want to compare your strengths against somebody else's strengths. That could potentially be motivating. That can potentially push you to learn and to train harder. Not comparing the weaknesses against the strengths. And last but not least, we need to boost our confidence, because if we had really great confidence levels, we probably wouldn't get into the comparison trap in the first place, because it's that lack of confidence that gets us there. So confidence boosters. Be your own cheerleader and give yourself some positive affirmations. I don't care if your mantra or your positive affirmations are on the dashboard of your car, if they are written on your bathroom mirror in shaving cream, if they are on a corkboard in your kitchen, anywhere, but put them somewhere so that you can remember those positive affirmations or a mantra. So back when I first started LuLaRoe, I actually did a webinar for Brittany Hunter's team. Based on a training by Dana Wilde. So her name is W-I-L-D-E, Dana Wilde. And when I did another direct sales company, she actually came in and did a big training for us about train your brain. And she's a great, great speaker. You can check her out on Facebook. You can check out her website. But she actually talks about how we can kind of con ourselves into doing poorly because we believe that we don't deserve it or that we're not good enough for it. And if you can train your brain, because there's lots of subconscious thoughts that actually can affect how we play things out in our life. So she talks about training your brain and looking at things with a positive mantra saying, I will do this, or I can do this. And she actually talks about a way to develop your own mantra. So she's a great person to check out if you're needing some positivity and some business training. Dana Wilde. Assume a power pose. Jill Brady did this on stage when she talks about her confidence. She does her little confidence talk. So she actually says, stand up straight, put out that chest, pull those shoulders back, and assume a power pose. And this is actually scientifically proven to increase your confidence levels. Give. So giving meaningfully will help you feel connected to others while making you feel like a better person. It is an automatic, instant confidence booster. Performing random acts of kindness. The next one, people who don't have very good self-confidence, their self-esteem and confidence levels are low, they don't really accept compliments very well. They shrug them off. And in order to confidence boost, you are going to want to accept compliments with grace. So accept those compliments and really, 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 really value them. The next thing is to learn something new. So make sure that you are plugging into trainings, whether it be Heather's or your uplines or cross team or LuLaRoe's training webinars on Tuesdays. Setting a small, very attainable goal and achieving it is a phenomenal confidence booster. And then making a new friend. So reach out to someone you know and admire. And you know what? It might actually be that person that you are comparing yourself to. If you think they are so great that you are striving to be more like them, reach out to them. Tell them how great you think they are. And I'm willing to bet that you're going to find out that they're a real person just like you and just like me. And you might even learn something. So reach out to those people that you know and admire, especially those that you might be comparing yourself to. But making a new friend in general has been shown to also boost our confidence. So please remember, guys, that we are all called to live a different story. Our paths leading to LuLaRoe were different, and our paths within LuLaRoe are going to be different as well. Your jealousy is really a window to see what may need to be improved upon. And I think that this last statement actually, even though it's not like a mission statement of LuLaRoe, I think it completely embodies the culture of LuLaRoe. We are not supposed to compete with each other. We are meant to complete one another. So remember, don't let comparison steal your joy. So that was a pretty quick presentation about the comparison trap. Does anybody have any questions? You can totally unmute yourself. Or we can just chat. Like if you guys just want to chat about ways that you feel like you've suffered from the comparison trap, we can just have a little open chat. Or I can unmute everybody. Or at least you, Heather. There you go, you're done.
Thank you, that was awesome. I think since you muted everyone, do you have to unmute everybody? Because they still look, there you go.
Oh, I muted you by accident. Okay, everybody's unmuted. So if you want to mute yourself, feel free, but you're also free to talk.
Julia's here at work, so I have to mute myself.
Okay. I think that was really great. Thank you so much, Michelle. And I know for me, it's like very important to